NBA 2K18 tutorial. Number 8. Today we'll be looking at detailed film of defensive settings and how you can use them to help you lock down the opposition. I'll be showing you guys every setting in detail, so get the pen and paper ready. It's a long video, but this is going to be well worth it. I will be showing you gameplay on Hall of Fame between the Houston Rockets versus the Houston Rockets. You want to see that because I want to show you the weakness of the AI team who is wearing the dark colors, and you can see me using my manual defensive settings in the white jersey and how my defense just holds much better the AI in comparisons that I'll show you with detailed film later. Now, not only do my settings hold if you do well, as you saw in the previous clip, my settings will actually help you clean up your mess as you make mistakes. Look at the computer, just block every shot for me here, cleaning up my mess. And we all know there's really bad rotation coming from 2K18 defenses here. Well, with my settings, look at the nice help rotation that is in control, challenge shot, lock up. So, first things first, you gotta use these required coach settings, so make sure you set these correctly in the options. So what you want to do is you want to go to game plan, pause the game, and you want to go to coach settings and make sure the adaptive coaching engine is off. This is crucial. Make sure it's off, okay? And do everything as you see there, and make sure defensive communication is on so you can see the little, prompt on the top of the head to the defender. So the key to defensive settings in 2K18, the number one key is that you don't want to leave a single setting on auto, because if you leave any setting on auto, I guarantee you 100% you will have frustration. This is because the AI is full of defensive flaws, and as you can see from the settings here, everything is auto. So by the end of this video that I've shown you everything, nothing will be on auto, okay? Not a single thing. This is because when it's on auto, what it does is that it makes real-time adjustment based on in-game situations. And 2K AI cannot make good defensive situations in-game at all, okay? Just look at it here. On the left side, that's the shots that the AI Rockets got against my defense, and on the right side is the shots I got against their defense, the ace defense, so the auto defense. The biggest discrepancy you can see is that I got 49 paint shot opportunities and I hit 41 of them for 83%. If you look at the left side, against my defensive system, the AI was only on Hall of Fame was only able to take 16 shots in the paint, and they only made 9 of them. Alright, so what's the biggest difference here? Obviously, I'm getting easy paint points from the AI defense all the time, and my defensive settings take away paint points from them, and not only that, I force them into a lot of bad mid-ranges and contested threes. Every jumper they have taken from the mid-range and outside is low percentage, and if you see mine, I barely took any mid-range, and I made a lot of threes. So you do not want to use auto settings under any circumstances, and I will show you how the AI fails on mostly every aspect. So there's failure of off-ball center defense, as you can see there where the center does not help. And you can see it again, focus on Capella in the paint, getting out of the way for Chris Paul for a layup. What is he doing? And there's more failure of off-ball C defense. Watch my Harden here, get into the paint, out of the screen action, and just watch Nene guard Capella in the corner and let Harden go in. That makes no sense. So that's, if you set it to auto, that's what you get. There's also terrible off-ball wing help. You can see Chris Paul go into the paint there for no reason, leaving my Chris Paul wide open. That's bad. And you can see here again, the computer off-ball wing help D is just insane. Look at them leave every player there. Eric Gordon wide open in the wing. And not only that, the computer also makes incorrect matchup decision. This is James Harden against their James Harden. The opposite Rockets team have Trevor Ariza, but they have decided to put their James Harden on my James Harden. So that's a no. Goodbye. Don't use auto settings. More clips, don't worry. The computer also has nonsense stay attached scheme where they don't know how to get a pick and pop. That's Ryan Anderson. That's Ryan Anderson's only job on offense. And the AI defense will leave him open. There's no stay attached. They're not using the stay attached setting properly. All of these clips, you can see that the AI does not use the settings available to them correctly. So if you leave anything on auto, you are exposed to all of these risks. Okay, you don't want any of that. There's also horrific catch hedge defense by the AI. That's terrible. And you can see it here again where they're trying to run catch hedge, but they just get picked off and allow me to go into the paint for free. Look at Nene, just, yep, let me walk in there. Thanks, Nene. And last but not least, they also have terrible hard hedge execution. Watch me get non-stop slip dunks here. So that's a bad hard hedge because the back line wouldn't rotate over. And here it is again, another slip for another easy dunk because of terrible hard hedge and help defense at the back. So if you haven't figured out already, turn ace off. Make sure none of the settings are on automatic, because if any setting is on automatic, you are exposed to these risks 24/7, okay? And you don't want that. So now I'm going to show you how to manually make every defensive settings for yourself to make sure your defense is on lockdown. So this is going to be long because I'm going to go over every setting and I'm going to show you example of what they behave like. So get ready. Yeah, let's do this. So first things first, extend pressure from the very bottom is automatic. What this does is that the on-ball defender will guard the ball in the backcourt. So essentially a full court press. So some of the things you guys have seen Avery Bradley and Patrick Beverley do in real life, you don't want that on automatic. You want that all off. Just say no to everything. Unless you have Avery Bradley or Patrick Beverley on your team, just make this all no, because you don't want to full court press anyone. Why would you want to full court someone's center? If you leave it on automatic, you're taking a risk. So just set that to no. Unless you want to full court press someone, which is usually just the point guard. So that's a decision for you, but in general, just set it to no, not automatic. And most important of all, the drive help rules and the screen help rules. What this does is that the off-ball defenders will help according to the team's scheme based on either driving or during pick and roll. So if someone drives in and you set this to automatic, you will see those insane mix and match that the AI likes to do. So you don't want automatic. Now, but at the same time, you don't want no help, because if you set it to no help, as the opposite team, they drive in either via ISO or they drive in for pick and roll, you receive no help. You don't want that either. So what you want essentially is you want to set both drive help rules and screen help rules to help and no rotation. What this means is that the initial help man will come over to stop the roller or the penetrator, but there will be no rotation behind him. So if you set it to this means you can actually have a designated helper, depending on your off-ball settings, which I will discuss later. So you'll get help from one defender at the back line, but there will be no rotations, so you won't get those crazy 2K stuff. So make sure you set both to help and no rotation, and allow me to show you a clip of what happens if you do that. So I'm on help and no rotation here. You see there's a pick and roll between Harden and Capella. Now, if you focus on my Capella in white, I was supposed to kind of do a catch hedge, which I'll discuss to you guys later, but essentially I messed up the hedge defense here because I kind of overdid it. So the computer Capella in the dark colors, he actually has a clear roll. But look at my Ariza, because I'm on help and no rotation, my Trevor Ariza has actually slid over to the paint in white. He is going to stop the roll, as you can see, and this is just the help and no rotation kicking in because Ariza, I've set him as a defender. Watch him pick off Capella, cancels the roll and allows my Capella to recover. Now obviously the issue here is I have left the other Ariza in the dark on the wing wide open, but because it's Ariza, so I'm not too worried about it. So this is actually something I wanted to do, and you can see although my Ariza has abandoned his check, my Ryan Anderson and James Harden on the corner and the wing has not done any crazy rotations or switch with anyone. They have decided to leave the guy that I wanted to left open to stay open. This is what help and no rotation does. There's no crazy rotations after the help defender comes over. My Ariza is going to recover now because my Capella has picked his man back up. So this is actually a good defensive position, giving up an open free to a guy who is not the greatest shooter in the world. Perfect. So help and no rotation for everything, okay? Next, we're going to focus on switch rules. So obviously it starts off as auto. Please don't turn it away from auto. This is obviously a personnel decision because your options here is to switch all. So when you switch it to switch all, this means the defense will switch assignments on every off-ball screen, okay? Off-ball screen, so not on-ball screen. So if you have a team that can handle that, do it. But obviously I don't, because I have Ryan Anderson and I don't want to switch every off-ball screen because Ryan Anderson can't guard wings. So switch all is not an option for me because of my lineup. Now the next option here is I think switch bigs. This means the defense will switch assignments on every post-to-post off-ball screen. So that means if a big man screens another big man, so in this case if Capella screens Ryan Anderson, on the opposite Rockets team, my bigs will switch, but I don't want that either because I don't want Ryan Anderson switching onto anybody because he's a terrible defender, so I can't do that either. But what I can do is the third option, which is switch guards. This means the defense will switch assignments on every guard-to-guard off-ball screen. So in my case, this is either between Eric Gordon, Chris Paul, and James Harden. And that doesn't really hurt me too much because I can actually switch those matchups. And here, focus on the left side as Computer Eric Gordon is about to set a screen for their Chris Paul. You can see my Harden and Paul switch the screen because I've switched guards on. So watch the switch happen right now. Harden's gonna pick up Paul, Paul stays on Eric Gordon, and that's essentially switch guards. And that's actually useful because now they don't really get a clean shot out of that because I switched it. And because my guards are just kind of equal in defenders, I don't really mind switching it. Obviously, if Chris Paul starts killing my Harden, I would, but in this case, that's what switch guard looks like and is quite useful in the correct situation against the right teams. So now let's focus on the off-ball screen. So once again, this is based on rosters and the lineups you have available to you. You can either do go over for shooters. So anyone that can shoot, you want to go over on the off-ball screen to help it out. And against people who can shoot, you want to set it to go under. So anybody who can shoot a free or mid-range, go under. And the final option to this is obviously to switch, which means they will switch every off-ball screen on any position. So if let's say Pachulia sets an off-ball screen for Curry, they will switch that. So you don't really want that because that's switching point guard and center. But if you have the right team for it, do it. But obviously, I don't once again because I'm the Rockets and I have Ryan Anderson, so I don't want that. But in general, just set it to go under for everyone because most people can't shoot coming off screens. But then you later, specifically, you want to set it to go over for the players who can shoot. So in this clip, you can see me go over. Just focus on the left side and you will see my defender go over on the PJ Tucker off-ball screen. Watch as Nene sets the screen, my defender goes over, which takes away the free, so that just forces him into a bad isolation situation, and we get the ball. But since PJ Tucker is also, sometimes he could be a bad shooter if he's cold, he's not very consistent, so in this case, I have set it to go under, and you can see what it looks like if I go under. So you can see my Ariza has actually decided to go under the screen, which is going to give PJ Tucker an open free, but I am betting on that he misses it, so I don't mind going under, so that takes away the curl, so it takes away the paint, and he does, so it's a gamble, but now you know what it looks like to go over and go under. And now we're going to focus on our on-ball screen for center position. So this means how the defender is going to play on the ball screen when the center is setting the pick, so the defender who is actually guarding the on-ball defender. So if you set it to go over, they'll go over the ball, and that's actually probably the most useful because it stops the pick and roll handler from shooting, and it's ran pretty nicely by 2K most of the time. You can see here I've set it to go over against this quarterman pick and roll. Just watch James Harden. He's gonna get screened by Nene, but he's gonna go over the pick nicely, and that shuts down the pick and roll. If the go over is successful, most pick and rolls would be shut down, and Computer does that job pretty well. And you can see my Chris Paul is actually getting a double screen here from Computer's Nene and PJ Tucker, and I have told him to go over the screens, and he does quite well here because Chris Paul is an elite defender. I play the hedge myself. Chris Paul goes over, recovers, and challenges the shot. Great defense, so going over in general is the way to go. Even against non-shooters, I would say probably go under if they really can't shoot, but Computer plays go over better, so you can make a decision on your own. The next one we're going to look at is a stay attached. So this setting is essentially for using to stop the pick and fade, so pick and pop with either a wing player or another big man. So once again, don't leave it on automatic because that's just a no. You saw how I destroyed Computer on the pick and fades earlier. Never on automatic with this. You can either set it to yes, but you don't want to do that either, right? Because not everybody is a fade target, so you don't want to set it to yes. What you want to do is you want to go to the specific guy that likes to do pick and fades, and in this case is Ryan Anderson. And if you set it to yes, this means the hedge defender will stay attached to the screener in the pick and roll. So that means if Ryan Anderson gets a screen, the hedge defender is not going to leave him, which takes away the pop. But that gives away the drive. But because it gives away the drive, but you have good rotations at the back line, so that will stop it. So yeah, it's a pick a poison situation, but with someone like Ryan Anderson, you gotta stay attached. So you can see the clips here. Computer is getting a Ryan Anderson screen, and you can see my Ryan Anderson is dropping. He's gonna drop because it's the best way to defend the fade. So he's gonna drop and stick on Ryan Anderson. So watch, Computer is gonna follow Ryan Anderson, and there's no pop because of the stay attached. That's a lockup. My Ryan Anderson never left theirs. Unlike theirs earlier, as you saw who left mine, and we locked them up and we completely take away the offense because we destroyed their pick and pop. So that's what you gotta do. You gotta stay attached to yes to the specific screen guy that likes to pop. Alright, so make sure you don't do yes to all. You should do no, and then just go to the next page and set it for the specific player who likes to do pick and pops, the screener. Now, we're gonna focus on hedge defense for the center in this instance, and also for the non-center. It applies to both, really. So for the Hedge for the center, what I suggest in 2K18 is that if you want success, you gotta play as the Hedge defender 90% of the time. This is because, like I said earlier, the computer does going over fine. Like as the on-ball defender, they do a good job either going over and under, but what they do fail at is hedging. And you saw earlier in the clips that I showed you, computer fails hedge defense miserably, a lot. So you want to be the Hedge. So the first option, so why would you set anything on these? But you still want to set it because sometimes you switch around, it will still help you, be in good position as you switch to the center to guard the Hedge off ball. So the no hedge is pretty much where the Hedge defender will drop down to defend against the drive. This is going to give up a lot of pull-up jumpers, so I don't suggest you do that unless you have a super slow center or the handler cannot shoot at all. So think maybe a Rondo, Anthony Davis pick and roll, you probably want to do no hedge, but rarely, so I wouldn't suggest it. Your next option is the soft hedge, which is just where the hedge man will step out to prevent the ball carrier from turning the corner. You can see me do a soft hedge here manually, so you see what it looks like. I'm gonna switch to Capella on this pick and roll between Tucker and Nene, and you can see me standing right where I'm standing as Capella. That's the soft hedge. I'm not really committing to Tucker, I'm just stopping him from turning the corner to give enough time for Ryan Anderson to recover, and when I see Tucker turn, I'm just gonna drop back down to Nene. And that's essentially what the soft hedge would look like manually. It's a good defense, and because Harden comes over to steal the ball here too, so that's perfect. And another thing you can do is the hard hedge, which the computer also fails miserably. So if you set it to this, like don't ever let the computer center run it. You gotta run this yourself. So I would suggest avoid running hard hedge defense on the center option because center hard hedge is really bad on 2K. So you can see computer do a hard hedge here. Like I said, I'm running a pick and roll between Capella and Harden, and you see where Nene is standing? Computer Nene in the dark colors. That's a hard hedge. He's stepping all the way up, but it does give up the roll. So this is usual. You guys, for those of you who follow me, this is an ECRC slip. So you don't want to set it to hard hedge if you're gonna play auto hedge defense. So I would say avoid hard hedge because of the easy dives. What you also want to avoid is you don't want to do double because that's too aggressive. That's like a super aggressive hard hedge. That's going to lead to more easy dunk. Avoid that. What you want to do is catch hedge. That's the best pick and roll defense in 2K that the computer can execute, and also for yourself. What a catch hedge does is that the hedge man will drop down to defend the drive while preventing the screener from getting behind him. Essentially, if he does this, you're going to force the opponent into mid-range jumpers. But it's hard to do if you don't have a very quick center, but in my case it's fine because I have Capella, so he's really fast. So watch computer execute a really good catch hedge here actually. You can see me attacking them and watch Capella drop back, give up the mid-range, but he's not gonna let Nene roll by, so he's gonna recover. He defends 2 people at once. That's excellent catch hedge defense by the AI, which they do well once in a while. And you can see me do a catch hedge here. I'm gonna switch to Nene, and I'm gonna give up the mid-range, but at the same time not leave the roller. Follow both, cut them both off. That's essentially the catch hedge. You're gonna give up the mid-range but not let the screener roll behind you. Now let's focus on a hedge defense without the center position. So without the bracket center, essentially it just means this is the hedge defense you're gonna play between power forward all the way down to point guard. So if the opposing team has a power forward or point guard screen, you're gonna use the scheme. Or if they're gonna do a point guard to shooting guard screen, you're gonna use this scheme. I suggest here actually you want to do hard hedge. This is because hard hedge is only weak if your center is doing it. If you do a hard hedge, guarding either point guard to power forward pick and fades or point guard to shooting guard, pick and roll or whatever, hard hedge is actually okay because you're guaranteed to have your center at the back line because they're not doing this with the center, right? Hard hedge is only weak with the center because the paint is open, but if you do hard hedge between point guard to power forward, it's actually okay because your center will be there to clean up the mess if anybody slips. So you can see an example of hard hedge here. Computer Chris Paul is going to run it with James Harden, and you can see, bang, right here, my James Harden has hard hedge out to stop this point guard to shooting guard pick and roll, but computer point guard super smart crosses away from it and I give up the mid-range. But you can also see even though I'm hard hedging, the paint is completely occupied because I have brought my Capella over all the way into the paint, so there's no paint dive here for Harden or anybody else or Chris Paul really. So I give up the mid-range, which is too open in this case, but it's not the end of the world because it is just a mid-range shot. They hit it, good on them, but that's okay. So in this following clip, you will see all the hedge, off-ball, and on-ball screen defense work together in the settings. So watch, computer Capella is gonna, on the left, is gonna set a screen, off-ball screen here. So my Chris Paul goes over it and shuts it down, no open shot. Now if you look to the right, Ryan Anderson is supposed to set an off-ball screen for Ariza. My Ariza also goes over it, so there's no harm there. Now again, Ryan Anderson is gonna set another off-ball screen for Eric Gordon. My James Harden also go over it, which is fine. But I see Gordon curl here, so I'm going to stay off ball myself and follow him around so he doesn't get clipped. And now there's an on-ball screen coming between Capella and Ariza, so I'm going to defend it with my Capella and Ariza. My Ariza is going to go over. I'm doing the catch-hedge defense myself. I'm going to stay in front of Ariza, also stay in between the passing lane. Great defense. That's lockup settings. Alright, next most important thing, we're going to talk about the on-ball, off-ball settings. So in general, I like to first set it all to moderate for off-ball and off-ball and on-ball and make specific changes later. But most of the time, I like to actually keep it moderate on-ball and moderate off-ball. So when it's moderate off-ball, it just means the off-ball defender is just far enough to get out to a pass or to his help location. If you set it to moderate, they will help you off-ball. Because remember, we're on help and no rotation. But with moderate, they help not very hard, but they do come out. So here I have set moderate off ball on Harden and moderate on ball. And you're like, oh Sam, that's insane. It's James Harden. He's really good. I know he's really good. So I'm going to set it to double moderate so he will just take jumpers because I don't want this guy to drive. So you can see here, Computer Harden is in the strong side corner on the top left. My Harden is guarding him so that you can see that's moderate off ball distance. So that's what off ball moderate looks like in for space on the strong side. And as their Harden catches it, you can see right here, that's the moderate on-ball distance. I give him an open free here, but he hits it. I don't mind because his free-point rating is not so high, so this is a strategy. I can do tight and tight too, but I just want to do moderate, so I get more help, and I want to encourage their Harden to take jumpers because it's James Harden. I don't want him to drive. Now, Ariza is much less of a threat, so I'm going to put him on moderate off-ball pressure here too. And you can see now the good aspects of help defense coming from the moderate setting. So take a look at this clip. Right here, you see where James Harden is standing and his distance between Trevor Ariza. So this is the moderate off-ball distance you will get when the player he's guarding is on the weak side. In the previous clip, in the strong side corner, my Harden was closer to his man because it was strong side. But this is what the moderate defense will look like on the weak side. So there's a pretty big gap which allows him to recover on the pass, but at the same time help if needed. So watch what the help looks like in gameplay actually. So you see here, Ariza is on a moderate defense and he's leaving the other Trevor Ariza. So my Ariza is on moderate and he's leaning to protecting the paint because he's moderate, and because he is on moderate off ball here, this actually allows him to stop this alley-oop that's about to come up. Watch, because it's moderate, he was already kind of sagging, he stops the alley-oop, we get the ball, run down the lane, spin move, 2 points. That's great moderate off-ball defense. You can see another clip here. So there's a pick and roll here. I'm going to hedge out. But you guys saw this earlier. Like I said, my Capella here makes a mistake. But because of the moderate off-ball setting, you can see my Trevor Ariza is going to slide over and, you know, bump the other Capella from getting a clean roll. And he's going to clean up my mistake for me, all because he is on moderate. So that's what moderate does. It also makes them help in the paint aggressively. So watch him bump off Capella. And he's going to recover back to his own guy, as I have, because I've already picked up my guy. So that's perfect moderate off-ball defense. Now, you can also see here in the case of someone like PJ Tucker, who I've also set to moderate because I kind of want to dare him to shoot. You can see in this clip, focus on PJ Tucker in the top right. As Computer Williams drives in this pick and roll, my Ryan Andersons, who is supposed to guard PJ Tucker, has slid all the way over because of moderate to protect the paint, which is what I want. They swing the Tucker here, but I was allowed to recover. So moderate off-ball defense doing great for me there. And it's consistent too, and it locks down the shot, so that's great. Now, so you were like, oh, Sam, what happens if you put moderate on PJ Tucker and moderate on another guy, Luke Mbamamute, and they're on the court at the same time? If that happens, you actually get a lot at health defense. That's control. So look, Eric Gordon is about to run a pick and roll against me with Nene here on the right wing. And you can see as that pick and roll develops, Ryan Anderson and James Harden comes over to stop the initial paint penetration. This is because the guy they're guarding, PJ Tucker and Luke Mbamamute, I have told him to go moderate on both. So now you can see both guys come over when they're supposed to. I want this to happen. And because I have help and no rotation on, there's not going to be crazy scrambling, not too much. There's just down the paint, and I'm giving open shots to the guy I do want to give open shots to. Lock up. That's good settings. Here you can see it again, 2 guys on moderate. Now my Capella has actually messed up here. Once again, I stepped up too high on this pick and roll. But watch, Computer cleans up the mess, sorry. Ryan Anderson slides over because he's on moderate setting. James Harden at the same time also comes over because he's also on moderate. But as I recover, because once again of no help and no rotation. Harden now understands it's okay, so he's going to go back. Ryan Anderson at the same time sees the same thing. He also goes back, but as Ariza comes back, Harden sees an opportunity to help because he sees my Capella is being pinned by Nene. That's crazy. Moderate off-ball defense, help with help and no rotation on drive and screen. That's nasty settings. So but for shooters, you don't want that. So here I have off-ball pressure. For someone like a knockdown shooter like Ryan Anderson, Curry, and Clay, you want to set it to deny ball. And for someone who is a semi-good shooter like Eric Gordon, who is not elite but pretty deadly himself, you want to set it to tight. So what does that look like, you ask? So watch, focus on Ryan Anderson here, who is on D9. So even though the other Ryan Anderson is completely far away on the weak side corner, my Ryan Anderson is still super close to him. And James Harden at the same time is also guarding Eric Gordon tight, as you can see on the left wing. My Trevor Ariza is guarding the other Ariza on moderate, and you can see the distance gap in between. So on D9 and tight, they don't leave the shooters, but my Ariza has moderate on, so he's all the way across, so in the paint. So that's perfect defense. And once again, no crazy rotations because we have help and no rotation on. That is the key. So this is what tight, D9, and moderate looks like off ball. All right. And this is the most important setting in 2K18. Make sure you set leave him on all opposing center, all opposing centers that cannot shoot. You want this because this gives you the best paint protecting defense. So check out the clip here. Computer swings the ball over and watch my Capella in the paint there. Computer has decided to put their Capella in the corner. And my Capella is actually auto right now because I've messed up the on-ball defense by Chris Paul. But because I told him to go leave the other Capella, you can see he's in the paint. That's good position. He's not guarding the other center. So this takes away any of the bad positioning that 2K AI does. As you can see, that sets me up for success. Chris Paul got pinned off, gives me good rebounding position. Rebound, lock up. Leave him is excellent against an opposing center who cannot shoot, so you get the best paint defense possible. So what happens if you put leave him on a guy that is a wing player? So here I have put leave him on Quarterman, who is the opposing team's point guard. And you can see Harden just completely abandon him and protect the paint. Leaves Quarterman because when you set it to leave him, they become the first defender that help. And they help the most aggressively if you set it to leave him. That's why it's great for center. And if it's a wing player who can't shoot, look at my Harden crowd the crap out of the paint. They kick it to Quarterman. He hits it, but he's not that great. So that is a shot I'm giving up on purpose, so I don't really mind. And here is just an awesome clip of a moderate defense off ball kicking in. So watch me get screened there, and I mess up the Hedge defense as Capella again. But look, both Ryan Anderson and Ariza covers for me. But because help and no rotation is on, as I recover, they also recover. So that takes away the shots. And you're like, oh, but they're crashing too hard. But that's okay because I did that for the shooters that I want to shoot, like PJ Tucker and Luke Babamamute. I forced them into a bad shot. So that's great settings. So another important thing is that you want to make sure the force direction is going to the baseline, never auto. I never go middle here because if you go middle, the defense just breaks and it gives them too many opportunities to swing the pass. So make sure you set force direction to baseline for all your games. And for the pre-rotate, this is an absolute no. Always set this to no. What this does is that it stops heavy isolation, because if there's an isolation on the strong side, if you set pre-rotate to yes, the weak side defender will crash over, but you don't need to do that. You can do that yourself. And computer does a very bad job of pre-rotate, so always set this to no matter what happens. And at the double team, obviously set both to manual because you don't want the computer to do it. You can do that yourself. So double team post or double team perimeter, always manual. And for post defense, you always want it at 3/4 tops, not 3/4 bottoms. Because if you look at the chart there, the X is the defender. If you set the 3/4 bottom, that's where he stands. He takes away the baseline, but he gives up the middle, and he also gives up an easy lob pass to the paint that catch for easy dunks. Never set it to 3/4 bottoms and never set it to auto, obviously. You want to switch it to 3/4 tops, because if you look at the diagram, look at where X is standing. You're giving up a little bit of baseline, but you're taking away the middle, and you're taking away an easy post dunk if they check the pass in. So there you go. Whew, so that's all the settings and what they look like and how you should combine them together. But another thing I want to bring up is the defensive coaching emphasis. I'm pretty sure these are only in play if you have auto settings. So you don't really need to do anything. If you switch everything to manual, these don't apply. So you can adjust them in the timeout or using the D-pad during play. But I don't think you need to do anything if you have all. Just make sure it's not on auto, and you just need to make sure if you have all manual settings, just don't touch any of this because it doesn't apply if you have manual settings. I believe these only apply to auto settings. I'm 90% sure. I'll ask the dev and find out for you guys, but I'm 90% sure you don't need to mess with any of these if you have all manual settings like I just preached. And also this year, you can do defensive settings and timeouts in 2K18. So this will actually save you a lot of time for online games, and it will also allow you to make adjustments without the timer running out. I still suggest you do the settings. Try to do as much as you can in a minute and a half or 2 minutes. If you run out of time, just call a timeout. You can do it. See, you can do it in timeout here. Just go to game plan, keep scrolling with R2, and if you click X, you can do the settings and you can make any changes you want, as you can see there. So this will save you time and headaches on adjustments. Lastly, there is a post timeout matchup glitch for now, so keep an eye out for this in any of the games you play, because it is quite problematic. You can fix it, but you gotta keep an eye out for this because it's gonna mess up your defense. Hopefully they will patch this. So what happens is, you see, coming out of a timeout, I have all matchups in auto, but computer makes the matchup themselves, and you can see there's a huge problem here, because if you look at it, my Trevor Ariza is not only guarding Luke Babamamute, he's also guarding James Harden. So if these two are on the court at the same time, and my matchup have Ariza guarding 2 guys on the court, that's just gonna mess it up. So this is a glitch, so make sure you change this either back to the correct matchups or change it to auto after timeouts. Leaving this on auto is fine, it's not a big deal, because it doesn't affect the settings. It only affects matchup, which is fine. And you can see here, again, this is after another timeout that computer calls. I felt something was wrong and I check it again, and once again they mess up my matchup. So this is just crazy. Like, look, Ryan Anderson is supposed to be guarding 2 guys again, which once again doesn't make any sense at all. So be careful of this glitch. And at the end of this tutorial, I'm glad everybody made it. Here are the full defensive settings you'll need for the Rockets that I left it here. It took me a while to do because this is my first time doing it. I suggest test it out yourself because you don't want the timer to run out. So those are the defensive settings that I've showed you guys, every single one of them in detail, and how they work together with synergy. I will go into a lot more detail, obviously, for this. This is my first defensive setting tutorial of the year. If you like this, please add me a like. This took forever to make, and it's very hard to figure out every year and to find the right clips to show all the right moves. But I'll be doing detailed defensive settings. If you got questions, please ask in the comment section or come by in the live stream. I'll help you guys out on that. And I will be making defensive settings for every team and also specific lineups throughout the year. I'll go into more details, like how each would look like and what's best to use and when. But this one is more of an introductory tutorial on defensive settings. Well, it's still pretty advanced, I think. So please test this out for you guys. Let me know if it makes your defense better. That's really important feedback for me, because obviously I know it works for me, but I need to make sure it works for everyone. And I'm hoping it does, because I play very good defense there. I think I held them to 39% and I beat them by like, what, 38 points? This is a Hall of Fame. And I will also do online gameplay, but just the important thing for me is I gotta be able to do it fast enough on this stupid timer ticker online so I don't get an auto loss. So I'll work on that. You guys have to work on that too. General basketball knowledge or NBA teams are very important for this. But thank God this year we can do it in the timeout. So if you can't finish everything, I suggest just do it for the first 5 starters, because they don't play the other guys, and then call a timeout in between quarters and then do it for the bench specifically in the timeout menu. That's my suggestion. Do it for the 5 starters and call it a day, and then call a timeout, call a full timeout, and then do the rest of the settings for the bench outside of the countdown clock so you don't take an auto loss. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the settings here for you guys, for you to watch. Any questions? Please ask. And I meant to put post defense on 3 quarters top here. I did later after. I just didn't do it in these clips that I recorded. So, but everything else is correct on here. So make sure no auto stuff ever. Okay? As always, thanks for coming by. I have to drink water now because I spoke for 20 minutes straight. Whew. Thanks guys. I'll see all of you next time.